If you've ever wanted to learn how to draw faces and get those really fun face expressions, maybe something like this from Castlevania, today I'm going to walk you guys through some of the nice core fundamentals on being able to draw faces with nice expressions, and hopefully this one helps. Make sure to like and subscribe, and if you're watching here live, I appreciate you. You can join my live streams Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, 8 a.m. PST. But with that being said, let's get this one going. If you want to learn how to draw really good face expressions, the first thing, interestingly enough, is to learn first how to draw the head. Might be kind of a weird one. You're like, hey, Sam, come on, man. I just need to learn how to draw a happy face or a sad face or an angry face. But I do think that understanding how to draw a head from different angles is going to be so huge, because even without having a face expression, there is so much you can get from just seeing somebody have a tilted head down or up. Like, look at this dude. He has no expression, but he looks like he's aura farming straight up. Like, look at that. Damn. So first thing you want to do is draw a box. Maybe you've heard this advice probably countless times, but I feel like by drawing a box, it's one of the easiest ways to be able to rotate your form, being able to rotate your character and stuff. So we draw a box, and I showed you guys here this example right here. You kind of fit that head in that box. And the important thing that I like to call out is that because the face is symmetrical, right? When you're drawing a box, imagine this little square here, right, this little rectangle for the box, and how that is parallel, right? Those lines can help you denote where to line up those facial features. So the brows, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, they all line up because the face is symmetrical. So with that, we can kind of figure out how to make things a little bit easier. And I think a really good exercise is to draw a box like this, right? And then draw them from different angles. It's a fun challenge. So just go in here, pick a box shape, right? Maybe it's going to go this way a little bit like that. And then you go in there, and maybe first we'll go in and, draw a circle. We'll draw the jaw. Maybe we'll draw the ear in there. We draw that. And then we use, again, those guidelines of that square to help us place where that chin is going to be, where the eyes are going to be, where that nose is going to land, and so forth. If you guys want to get a tutorial on how to draw heads, I do have many other videos on my YouTube channel that are just dedicated to drawing heads. But for this one, again, we're going to be focusing more on expressions. So once you've kind of gotten in there and drawn out, the heads from different angles, but something that I like to always point out too is when you're drawing a face and you really want to get good face expressions, it's very important to understand how proportion works, because if you have proportions that are either too close together or in this case too far apart, you can sometimes get characters that maybe are not what you'd expect. I'm not trying to say these are right or wrong, I'm just saying they can change that face a lot. So comparing this one to this face versus this face right here, you can see how there's so much variety that you can play with without even changing anything else. All I'm changing is just the positioning of the eyes, nose, and the mouth. So play around with that, see what proportions work for you. For me, the proportion I like to work with whenever I'm drawing faces is I like to have this thing. It's called this might sound sus, right? But this right here is called the Illuminati triangle. And this technique, all I'm doing is I line up where the end of the brows are, end of the nose, and end of the mouth. And I use that to create a nice triangular shape that is almost roughly equilateral, but it just allows me to kind of quickly figure out where to place the faces, right? You can kind of see it. Let's do it on this one like that. Boom. So it's a nice kind of quick technique. You can do it on this one as well too. Look at that. Boom, boom, right? So that's kind of that first step right there. But again, obviously there are different styles, different expressions. So don't feel like you have to make everything fit that triangle shape. It might change, and that is okay. That's fine if it's different. And now we get to the fun stuff, right? So now that we've talked about proportions, we've talked about the basics of drawing the head from different angles. Now we get to the fun stuff here where we actually talk about tilting that head a bit, getting that aura farming character. Like, man, this guy straight up just looks like he's Piccolo. You could easily put the headband on him, give him the shoulder, the coat, and boom, we have here Piccolo. Right? Easy peasy. Even without having to draw and change the brows or the mouth or anything, we can get that again from angles. And this is going to be that step right here where we talk about the boxes. And then from there, we talk about the neck. Now, for those of you who have struggled with drawing necks, here's an easy way to think about it, right? Imagine the skull as a sphere, which I'm sure many of you have heard before, but in particular, we're just thinking about the cranium. And the way that the neck works is that the neck is comprised of a couple muscles and bones of the spine. And that is really just going to be a cylindrical shape that connects there at the back of that neck, right? You kind of see that right there. And then from there, we can then go in and imagine, for example, now that jaw, right? That head and so forth. So that's kind of something I like to do. Just kind of place it on a sphere, give it that nice cylindrical form. And you can see how from different angles, it really sits right here into that like sphere shape, right? An important thing to remember is that the eyes are comprised of an eyeball, right? Imagine this is an eyeball. And of that eyeball, we have eyelids. Now, I don't know, you might be like, man, Kaycem, it sounds like you're talking to like I'm a baby or something. But some people don't know about this, because what ends up happening is this is what happens when you look at an eye from that 3/4 view, right? You have the eyelids wrapping around like so, right? And then you have maybe the like eyeball, the little pupil thing right here, right? So you have this, but sometimes what I'll see is people who really struggle with drawing this one right here, right? Drawing that eye in side view. And so when you're looking at it like this, you're like, oh man, Kaycem, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to go like this? When you rotate that and you just imagine that ball and how that ball kind of overlaps on that crease of the eye, it will make it feel a little bit more natural. A quick little hack that you can do, this is what I like to do. So if you look at an eye from front view, this is how the eyes look like. As you start to rotate that eye a bit more, what you can do is actually this. It should be easy. Just kind of push it a little bit, right? And you push it a little bit more. So now maybe the head is tilted a little bit. Once you hit that point where you're really looking sideways and stuff, then that eyeball starts to overlap that crease that I was talking about. And then now you have to kind of create a new, slightly different eye shape, but it's still roughly the same. But there you go. That's kind of like the easy hack to do it, is to just take that eye shape and kind of keep squeezing it until eventually you start to get a slightly different shape that maybe looks more like this now. So here's an expression here of this character that I drew. And you'll notice how, look at this. All I did was just draw the eyes, and already it has some pretty solid expression, right? Eyes open, eyes closed, eyes open, eye closed. Now, if you want to learn, by the way, how to draw eye open, eye closed, it's actually super simple. Basically, all you got to do is this, right? You take the eye, you hide the pupil like this, right? You hide that upper eyelid a little bit there. And all you got to do is just thicken that lower eyelid now, because now that the eyes are closed, the eyelashes of the upper eye are going to thicken that bottom lash. So you'll see it like this, right? Boom, boom, boom. And then you just keep that eye there. That eye shape, you just kind of subtly denote it a little bit, because that's where the crease of the eye is going to be. And there it is. Boom. Super simple. And then you get something like this, right? So that already in itself, easy expression. But let's just say we're going to talk now about expressions, and now we're going to get into the meat of this video, which is talking about expressions through eyes. Now, I want to preface, if you've made it this far, today's video is only going to be dedicated to talking about how to use eyes for expressive faces. On my next video, we're going to talk about mouths and how mouths can make expressions different as well. We're going to ask that ultimate question, what that mouth do? A lot of good expressions, a lot of good expressions. That's what the mouth's going to do. So now let's talk about finally the thing that I think many of you are here for, which is the expression part, right? This one right here, this is an angry expression. You'll notice that from the neutral pose, I'm only doing a couple things. Actually, it's pretty simple too. One, we're going to raise that brow, right? We're going to raise that brow. And what's going to happen is while we're raising that brow, we're scrunching this brow in. And this gives us an angry expression, even if we're not showing the mouth at all. But what's important that sometimes I don't see artists doing, especially beginner artists, when we are just changing the brows, you also have to change the eyes a little bit, right? You need to go in here and you need to push that eyelid just a little bit more, because when you are pushing that brow down, you're also pushing in the skin, you're pushing in the eyelid and all of that. So hopefully you guys see that. I'm also adding in a few wrinkles here for the nose, just to kind of, you know, give it a little pizzazz. But that's generally the advice I would give for drawing a more angry type of shape, right? When we get into, like, let's say a more sad expression, right? we're going to take that brow, and then maybe what we'll do here is we're going to bring that brow down. This is a common expression right here that I feel like, you know, you'll probably see. So I like to kind of lower the opacity of the other layer. And this is kind of just something I've learned from working in the animation industry, using that onion skin. It just helps you see a bit more of what you're drawing underneath, right? So very helpful. And here, all I'm doing is I'm pushing that brow down and letting it bunch up a little bit more on that upper section right there. See that? Okay, nice. And you could say like, all right, this is pretty much good, right? This is easy peasy, not too bad. But actually, I think there's a little bit more that I want to do for it. What I want to do also is when you have the brows kind of furrowed down, don't forget now that the eyelids are going to be kind of more relaxed. And if anything, it would actually kind of go back up like this. So the eyelid right here now, you kind of have to shift that eyelid a bit, where the eyes, you can kind of see I'm doing it now, because the brows are pushing down and we have this brow kind of going back up. You can kind of see how the lower portion of the eyelid there is now getting pushed down, right? So there you go. And then what you could do is we could probably push that brow up even higher. Oh, poor guy looks sad. So we can take this brow and maybe even, you know, bring it up a bit more, right? And we're doing a couple things. We're letting that back eyelid get pushed down because the brows are moving down, but we're also letting that that inner portion of the eyelid move up as well. And if you want to push that even further, what you can do is you can really emphasize the brows really kind of moving down a bit. And there you go. See, now we got a bit of a sad expression. And again, we haven't done anything with the mouths. Now we're going to do one more. Let me see if there's any suggestions in the chat. Kaycem, when are you going to teach the ahegao face? Okay. Yeah. And that's going to be the last time that I get chat suggestion. Instead, we're going to go do a happy face. All right. Let's do a happy face, not a happy ahegao face. That is something else. All right, so how do we get a happy face, right? Like in some ways, you could even say that this is a happy face for this character. You know, it all depends on the type of character we're working with, right? We could do a confused face, but I think really the confused face, I'll actually show you guys a clever trick, all right? Watch this afterwards. The happy face is going to be this. Nice and simple. We're just going to raise that brow up a bit more. Really exaggerate it if we want. And we're going to add a little bit of a curve to it. So I'm still ending the brow exactly where it was before, but now we're like letting it raise up, right? The guy is happy. He's excited. And we're gonna go in there, and then we're gonna just kind of fill that out a bit more, right? And then let's kind of go in there, color the brows a bit. So for a happy face, for a happy expression, really the main thing here is I'm keeping that brow raised, but I'm letting that upper portion of the brow like kind of go up a bit. You can kind of see it in my face, right? Notice how like that upper brow, like that section, the major section of the brow goes up, but notice how that inner portion, the outer portion of the brow, it doesn't move up as much. It kind of stays relatively in a similar spot. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. Now, the part that's maybe going to be a little bit different is now we're going to open up that eyelid just a bit more, right? And as we're opening up that eyelid, right, notice how I'm going to try to keep that pupil about the same size in there, right? And then maybe we're going to add a line right here because now that eye is getting creased a bit. So we're going to maybe go in there like that. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. He looks kind of crazy right now, but bear with me. We got to do both sides of this. Oh, look at that. See, now he's happy. He's chilling, and he looks cute. He looks very surprised. He looks very shocked. But for the most part, he seems a little bit more, this character feels a little bit more excited, right? Excited for whatever the hell he's looking at right now. And then if you want to get that confused face, right? Here's all you got to do. Watch this. Just take this one, copy it. Let's move it over. And then that's kind of it. You just kind of put the eyes there a little bit. You give him one brow is raised, the other brow is not raised. And then we have a more like confused face, you know, you hit them with the, right? And then if you really, really want to have fun with it, well, first of all, if you guys like the video so far, make sure to like and subscribe. Hopefully you enjoyed this one, and hopefully you'll catch the next video where we talk about mouths and how we can utilize mouths for this. But speaking of mouths, I think we're going to end the video right here by hitting you guys with, just kidding. Well, hey, what you waiting for? All right. That's the end of the video. Chill. Boom. There it is. Yo, people were waiting for it.